Showtime. It's showtime. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my live. I'm IP USA immigration lawyer, and you guys already know I make green card application tip videos. So if you're just joining me for the first time, if you're just seeing me for the first time, and you're interested in immigration matters and you have questions, follow me on my YouTube channel for weekly tips that can help you prepare for your green card application. Okay? Thank you very much for joining. I'm going to take a few minutes and wait for more people to join the chat. I'm also going to go live on TikTok for those of you that follow me on TikTok, so that we can all discuss. I'm here to answer your questions, so feel free to post your questions in the comments, and I will get to them at the end of this live. But I want to discuss a very important topic that I think a lot of people don't talk about enough. You just don't hear it because people don't really want to discuss the possibility of getting a request for evidence, right? Most attorneys and most people you talk to, which makes sense, will talk about file your package so you don't get an RFE. That's great. But the thing is, sometimes people still get RFEs even when you file a really good package. It might be an RFE for something that you already sent before, maybe something that wasn't clear, like a picture wasn't really clear and they want another picture. So RFEs are something that will happen or could happen in your process. So I think it's really important that we learn how to actually respond. Okay, so I'm going to wait for more people to join. I'm going to work on joining TikTok here, and feel free to share this live with your friends who may, be going through the immigration process, who need help, who just need some tips. Like I said, I have several resources online that you can find. You can find in my Facebook group. You can find on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, everywhere. Okay, so I'm gonna go live here now. Let's see. But yeah, while we're waiting for people to join, thank you very much for joining. Let me know where you're watching from. I see a couple of you here from Facebook. So yeah, thank you very much. So let me know where you're watching me from. I'm in North Carolina, Charlotte, Eastern Time. Here it's just, it's the summer, so it's still very much bright outside. Oh, so let me know where you're watching me from, what time it is, and all that type of stuff. For TikTok, I have to, make sure that there's certain things I put in place because TikTok is so different for many of the, the online platforms out there. So, okay, I'm checking for the comments. Yeah, don't be shy, guys. We're here to chit chat. We're going to be answering questions, and we're going to be, just talking about immigration matters in general. Actually, before I even get to the 3 steps, because I just broke it down into 3 steps. I've had to do a lot of RFEs lately for clients who come to me, maybe people who file on their own. A lot of people, file on their own, and they have good packages, but then they get a request for evidence, especially when it comes to the I-864. So they contact me, and I'm, able to guide them through it. So while I was working on those, I realized, they're just, if one can just go through these 3 steps, I think it'll help you prepare a good package, because at the end of the day, if you don't respond properly, your case could still get denied, right? For example, if it's like a RFE for financial, maybe you need a joint sponsor, or you weren't showing enough income, for example, and you don't respond properly, then you still won't qualify. Maybe you don't send in, you don't do the calculations, because the RFE will tell you, the notice will tell you what it needs, but some people still have a hard time either producing it within the short time and then don't know what to do. So we'll talk about all of that stuff today. So feel free to hop in the chats. I'm going to be checking and answering questions towards the end. Okay. Let's see here. Generally, I would have music going and stuff going for me to, sing karaoke. But today I just decided to keep it chill. I've been having a very busy week. Last week I had jury duty, so that really set me back on some of the things I had to do. So I've been trying to catch up all week. So I was like, I think my voice needs to chill. And also, with the weather change, I've been having like allergies or something. So I was just like, we're just doing a chill live chat, just talking, just vibes, and answering questions. Okay, that's what I'm here for. That's what my whole social platform is for, to provide you with resources and tips, little questions you may have here and there that you don't necessarily need the full, you just need a few tips, right? So just go do it on your own. So that's why I'm here. Okay, let's see. What am I going to write for that? Yeah. For TikTok. Well, do I really need to do this? Maybe next time. Yeah, I'm just gonna go live there. Okay, let's do this. It's showtime. Hey there on TikTok. Welcome to my live. People watching on Facebook and YouTube already heard my introduction, but I'm gonna just say it again. Making this live to answer your immigration questions. Today, you already know, if you're on my page, if you're on TikTok or Facebook, you already know I make green card tip videos and I share tips to help you prepare for your application. I also go once a week, typically on Tuesdays, but we're here on Wednesday today. So yeah, if you're just coming across my page for the first time and you're interested in immigration, or you're filing your immigration, or you know someone who's filing, follow me, share this live so they can join us. Because today, in addition to answering all your questions, I know people on TikTok are gonna be coming up with the questions. On Facebook and YouTube, still shy right now, but just know that I'm here to answer any questions you put in the comments. But yeah, so we're gonna get through the questions, talk about 3 steps to responding to a USCIS notice, especially a request for more evidence. Okay, I'm gonna talk about all the possible notices you can get during your green card process, your marriage green card process, your family-based green card process, because this applies even if it's not just marriage, right? If it's your mom, dad, or any other family-based category. So I'll talk about those types of notices, you should expect during your process, and how to respond if you get any one of them. Okay. All right. I see a question from Facebook. Hello. Thank you for joining and thank you for asking your questions. I'm going to answer these few questions I'm seeing coming up right now because we're just waiting for people to join. In a few minutes, I'll get into the material, but while we're waiting, I'll answer these questions, and other questions I get, we can definitely answer them towards the end. Okay. I got my prima facie last week, and I'm so happy. Oh, it's just a comment. Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing. That's wonderful. So, for those of you that don't know, a prima facie is is when you file a VAWA-based petition, and your petition was received, and there's going to be, most likely a positive outcome, because that shows that you were able to show abuse for the first half of the whole thing. So that's great. Congratulations on that. Let me see. More questions coming in. Do you have to send any documents with the I-29F, which is the K-1 visa application or petition? rather. I mean, of course, yes, you do. Every document that you file with the USCIS, whether it's for fiancé visa, spousal visa, whatever, you have to send evidence because, I mean, how else are they going to know that you qualify for the visa, right? There are different requirements for these things. So you have to show them that you can meet those requirements with your document. So that was a question from Talk. Um, I'm still taking questions in a few minutes. I'll get into the topic, which I consider very important, but I've really never heard anyone talking about it. I just hear people talking about avoiding getting these notices. Meanwhile, people are out here getting these notices. I actually got like several consultations last week for people who got requests for evidence. I was like, wow, what's going on what's going on? This was, granted, this wasn't family-based request for evidence. It was like employment-based national interest waiver stuff that people apply. It's still a way to get a green card. We can talk about that later. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in knowing about that national interest waiver stuff. But I mostly do family-based immigration, but I have, I can provide some insight on employment-based as well. But anyway, yeah, I talked to a bunch of people who filed, had really good cases and very good detailed, explanations and supporting evidence, like I was saying, but they still got requests for evidence. So dealing with those cases really got me thinking about, because they ended up, I think they want to do it themselves because they applied themselves and they feel like, and they can because these are PhD holders and people who have all these qualifications to actually request to waive the employment or employer rather. So, that was just interesting to see. But yeah, I'm seeing some questions about wanting to come to USA. I get to those ones towards the end because I talk about that all the time on this page. That's just general, if you want to know just the different ways into the USA, I could talk about that for sure, but I won't really get into those right now, just so that we can focus on those people who already filed, okay, whether you are inside the USA, outside the USA, you already filed, and you got a notice from USCIS, okay? All right, and for those on TikTok, how to use the interactive Q&A box, because that helps me to see your questions, right? There's a lot of you on TikTok, so the questions can just I won't see your questions. So it's very important, put it in the Q&A box so I can see it and make sure you get your answer. Otherwise, you can chat. Somebody else in the comments could possibly give you an answer, and we'll go from there. Okay? All right. Well, thank you very much for still being here. We waited for 15 minutes. I think we have more people now watching this live, ready to ask questions. So I'm going to quickly go through what I have written down here to help you in case you get notice that you need to respond to, okay? And if you have questions about what I'm saying, also ask in the comments, okay? So your notice, your USCIS notice is a mail. I should have had a copy of that mail here, but I don't. But anyway, you get USCIS mail. That's how you're gonna get information about your case with your notice. That's the only way you're gonna know when your document was received, when you need to go to do your biometrics, when it's time for your interview. Your notice. That's know all that stuff. Okay, so when you apply for a green card through family, you're gonna get at least like 5 notices in this whole thing, assuming you don't even get like a request for more evidence. Let's just say you get regular notices. Let's just say you get just a regular notice, no request for more evidence. Case is great. You'll still get at least 5. So the first expect in your green card process, and you'll be getting this one within like 10 days to a few weeks. Before it used to be like 3 to 6 weeks. These days it's been like really quickly because USCIS is trying to meet up with all that backlog and really just push cases out there. Okay, so You get your receipt notice. With that one, you don't have to respond. There's nothing, to say. That's just to let you know this is your case number. Okay, so it's an important notice. You have to save it. Make sure you look at it, save it, because it has your case number, has your alien number, it has your priority date, it has everything about your case because they just received it and they're about to start working on it, right? So make sure you save that one. That's your first notice, okay? And shortly after that, you're going to get another notice in the mail. Okay, so when you're worrying about the case, like, what's happening on my case? Are they still working on my case? You'll check online, you'll call your lawyer, be like, what's going on my case? The only way we're going to know what's going on is when you get that second notice, right? You're going to get your biometrics appointment notice. Okay? Biometrics is very exciting for many because they know that once you get your biometrics, the next thing you're getting is your work authorization. Okay, so that's one exciting thing that happens in the process. You have to take with you your passport to that to that appointment because you're gonna have to show identity, like, okay, I'm this person, and take, obviously the notice letter. You always have to take your notice letter with you to any USCIS appointment. Okay, they're gonna ask you when you're about to enter, because keep in mind that the USCIS buildings, this is a government building, so you have to have your ID, you have to have your letter, like, hey, I have an appointment, like, I'm not just showing up, okay? All right, I see more questions from Facebook, and thank you very much. I'll get to those towards the end. So keep them coming, and thank you on TikTok for using the interact box, because that really helps with me, seeing the questions as we keep going. Everything just wants to fall down today, but it's okay. We'll keep going. All right. So anyway, you get your biometric notice. You have to respond to this one by going to the appointment. The notice is going to tell you where the appointment is, the date, time, all that stuff. So you're going to prepare by making sure you have your document, your passport, whatever it is that was required of you to come in there. Okay. So, and then after that, some people at the second stage, some people don't even get biometrics appointment. They just get a letter saying, hey, the last time you had biometric, we're going to, because it was pretty recent. Okay. That happens quite often when I file for my clients, especially those who had some type of status before. Maybe they had like a student visa, or I don't know, like just whatever status that they had to do biometrics for. If it's been years or something like that, they typically just waive that. But nonetheless, you still have to pay the biometrics fee. You have to pay the $85. Otherwise, your case will get rejected, even though you feel like your biometrics would be accepted. Okay, it's just the way it is. Okay. So let's just say your case is going great. You're not going to get, you sent in everything, all the documents were clear. USCIS did not lose any of your documents, because that's another reason why you could potentially get a request for evidence. After your biometrics, you're just going to wait for your work authorization to come in the mail. And then once that comes in the mail, you have, if you apply for your travel permit as well, you have that too. This could happen anywhere between the first 30 days to these days it's just wild, right? So people are getting their work authorizations pretty quickly. So, it could be anywhere around there. And then you start working, you travel and all that stuff, and then wait for the next notice in line, which is going to be your interview notice. Okay. But if everything wasn't going good in your case, for whatever reason, after the biometrics, after your work authorization, after that whole thing, you could most likely get something called an RFE, a request for more evidence. Okay. This document is very scary to a lot of people. That's why a lot of people don't talk about it. But to me, I say face your fears, okay? Figure out, okay, so what if I get a request for evidence? How am I going to respond? What do I do? How does this affect my case? Okay, instead of like freaking out, it's better to just face the fear and understand what's going on and how to respond. Okay, so in the next, I'm going to get into the 3 steps on how to respond to an RFE. But that will be your third notice if necessary. If not, you're going to go from biometrics to work authorization to your interview. Okay, your interview notice is going to come at least like a month or so before your interview date. So you don't have to worry about missing it. You're going to have enough time. Okay. That's why it's very important to read your notice and figure out the time, date, make sure there are no schedule conflicts. Okay. Plan ahead, figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to get there. A lot of questions still coming in. I'm going to get to that soon towards the end of my whole thing here. And let me know if you have any questions about what I'm also saying, because like I said, this topic is just not discussed enough, and some of you may not have experienced it yet. You're just like in the beginning phases, but I'd be more than happy to guide you through that. Okay. So yeah. Well, so you get your interview notice and you wait for your interview, and that's it. Potentially during that time as well, when you got your interview notice, you could get something called a 693 deficiency notice, I-693 deficiency notice. Okay, this one is also kind of scary to some people, but once they realize, there's really nothing to worry about, you can just respond pretty easily, and you can take the response with you to the interview. Okay. This is a courtesy type of notice from USCIS. So I've mentioned about 5 notices now through the process, and you haven't even, this is just the process, right? This is not yet your approval. This is just all the things going on in between. So it's essentially saying that you need to take your medical exam. Maybe you did not submit your medical with the application, so now is the time for you to do that. So typically with my clients, I allow them to send the application without having the medical, because I know that they still have the opportunity to submit that at the interview. Some people submit their applications without a lot of supporting evidence because they feel like they can also show that at the interview, but I wouldn't suggest that all the time. It really depends on every situation. That's why you need to speak to a lawyer before you make decisions, right? About how to file, the strategies you can use, and all that stuff. I wouldn't advise it for every case because you could still get denied, right? This stuff is discretionary. USCIS could look at and be like, oh, not enough stuff, no interview, just denied, right? So that's essentially why you should be careful with documents you leave out and which ones you send in. So leaving out, you get the deficiency notice, and then go ahead and schedule an appointment, take your medical, and also take the package, the sealed. It has to be sealed because the doctor is the only one that's going to fill it out and send it. So yeah, you're going to take that and then take it to your interview. Okay, so this is 5 notices I talked about. There's one more. Does not apply to everyone, so I'll talk about it later on. But I'm going to look through some of the questions, a whole bunch of questions on TikTok. I want to answer some of them now so that you can continue listening to what I'm talking about, and also prepare yourself in case you do get a notice, or if you have a notice right now, so you can understand and respond. Okay, so I see a lot of questions. I want to answer all of you guys at this one time because I see a lot of timeline questions. Someone said I filed 2022. You received your biometrics in April 2022, so I'm guessing like 30 days. And what's the estimate to your overall time span? So if this is a marriage-based green card, the overall time span right now is 12 months to 18 months. is actually reduced from the 12 to 24 months happening before, right? So USCIS did several things to reduce that timeline. They started reducing the amount of interviews to come in, so it's not every couple will get called for an interview, especially if it's like a removal of conditions. You would just get your 10-year green card. So they reduce all the interview requirements. That's helped them to decrease the timeline and speed up things for people. So if you just filed, another good news is that if you're just a recent filer, USCIS has also been working on some of those cases that were just recently filed, first. So that could be a benefit to you, if you just filed in March. Okay. So I'm going to answer some of the questions on TikTok, and I know it's going to be a benefit for you guys as well on YouTube and Facebook. And make sure you share this live with your friends so they can even watch it even after the live is done. And I think it's going to post on Facebook and YouTube for sure. But TikTok, I don't think it posts. I'm not sure what happens with that. Okay. So I'm answering the questions, the people who use the Q&A tag on TikTok, because like I said, there's so many questions coming in, and if I try to scroll through, we're going to stay here forever. Okay. This live is only going to be just like 30 to 45 minutes. So let's just, get into it. Okay. Okay. The topic, somebody asked, the topic what we're talking about is how to respond to notices from USCIS. Okay. Just if you're filing for a green card and you want to know, and you get a letter from USCIS, you want to know what to do next. This live, I think, will help you figure that. Okay. Next question. I'm 16 years old. Can a 16-year-old go to Canada on a working visa? Thank you for your question, but I'm not sure about Canadian immigration rules. I'm a USA immigration lawyer, so I'm not sure of that. I can't really give you an answer on that, but I'm sure they have different rules and age limits for working, so you have to check with a lawyer for that. Let's see. So yeah, another Canada question. So I'm not going to answer that because I don't do Canadian immigration. I'm a USA immigration lawyer. So talk to a Canadian immigration lawyer to figure out, what you need for that. If you can travel to Canada with a travel document. I don't even know what their travel documents look like. So anyway. So anyways, back to what I was saying, and I will get to more questions down the line. I think I'm almost done here. I only have one more notice, which, like I said, is not, a lot of you may not get that notice. It's just really for rare cases, especially if there's any suspicion that your marriage is not bona fide and maybe fraud marriage suspicions, you could potentially get this notice. Definitely helped couples in that situation deal with that. But this is one you definitely should freak out about, because this is definitely we are about to deny your application. Okay, I'm talking about the almighty NOID, Notice of Intent to Deny. Okay, this one is very tricky, very scary, and a lot of people just don't realize, especially after the interview. This comes typically after the interview, okay? When you were like, oh, the interview went well, everything was great, and then you get the NOID. So what do I do, right? So quickly, I'll get into it so that I can spend the next 15 minutes just chatting with you guys, answering your questions, and, just seeing where the night takes us. So if you get any of these notices, the first couple of notices, you don't have to do much. Some of them are just for information. Others are for you to figure out, go take your biometrics, your fingerprints, your photographs, all that to get into the system so you can get your work authorization. Some of them are just for your interview. Some of them are just for your medical, right? So whatever kind of notice that you get, the first step, this is going to apply to that as well. This is going to help you figure out what to do next, okay? So the first thing you need to do, obviously, is to read that notice carefully, okay? This is, it's very obvious, but I have to include this because a lot of people just don't like to read anymore, and they just gloss over things, and they miss important dates, okay? And then they fall into problems, okay? I've had people not submit their RFE on time and then end up getting denied for something very small they could have fixed, but they just didn't realize what to do. Okay, so read the notice carefully. You're going to figure out what kind of notice. If it's just biometrics appointment, okay, we'd be like, okay, cool. If it's a deficiency notice, you need to go take a medical, you're like, oh, okay, well, I need to call my doctor. Read the notice so you can know what your next action is going to be. Okay? And also, the notice is going to tell you the address where you need to send stuff. Okay, don't just send stuff to the address where you mailed your first package. At this point in time, your package is being processed, so you need to send it to the right office where it's being processed. Okay. So once you read it and you figure out what the notice is and what's going on, the next thing you do is to prepare the response, right? Prepare yourself or a package, whatever needs to happen next. If it's an appointment, figure out if you have any conflict in your schedule, figure out if it's something that, you need to reschedule, like, just figure out what you need to do next. If it's a request for evidence, unfortunately, you can't reschedule that one. You have to send it within the amount of time. They usually tell you have 30 days, you have 60 days. They'll tell you how long you need to submit the evidence. Okay. So prepare number 2. And then also number 3 is to attend or send the package to the right location. Because like I said, you can't just send it to the first place that you filed before. You need to send it to the correct address where your package is currently being processed to get the results that you need, okay? Once you send it, you get another notice online. This might not be like a notice where they send you a paper telling you your package has been received and they're gonna call you for your interview or whatever the next step is, okay? All right, so I just kind of rushed through that because I see a lot more questions coming in, so I'm gonna get into the questions because I don't wanna be here all night. I'll come live again next week, once a week, to discuss more topics. I'd like to know what you guys want me to talk about next. You can leave that in the comments as well. I will be able to look at that and make a decision. But a lot of people ask similar questions, so this is where we get to answer frequently asked questions. I may not answer your question directly because there's so many of them, but in answering one person's question, I'm sure I'll be able to answer yours. You can hear your answer in that answer. Okay. All right. So let's get into the questions. TikTok. I'm gonna hold it like this so I can. I don't know. This. Okay. Maybe that's better. I don't know. But anyway, questions on TikTok. And for those of you guys on Facebook and YouTube, you can't see the questions right now because they're going to be showing up on my phone. But hopefully, if you hear something that relates to your case that works for you, you can let me know in the comments. If, a thumbs up if I'm answering some of your questions. Oh, thank you very much. Someone already did that. So thumbs up if I'm answering your questions or, if you need more clarification on something, even though you didn't ask. Okay. Someone asked, can you divorce on February 3rd and get married February 14th? That's very specific. Essentially, if you're asking me if there's a wait time between when you divorce and when you get married, that's really up to the state you're in, right? Every state has different requirements for that stuff. So you have to figure that one out. But essentially, if you're fully divorced, I feel like you can just fully be married again if you want to. Okay. Let's see. Another one. Um, how long? How long can you wait to file? So I get this question all the time. How long can you wait to file? The short is really you don't have to wait at all. The moment you say I do, you can just go ahead and file. Okay, the issue that one might face doing this is that your marriage is not, you're not going to have enough proof of bona fide marriage. Doesn't mean your marriage is not bona fide. It just means that because your marriage is so new, you didn't get a chance to build that evidence. So, the lawyer, if you figure out maybe you've been dating for many years and you have other evidence to show a shared life like that, you can go ahead and do it. Okay. Um, you're very welcome. Let's see another question here. Okay, what was your question? Did you ask it on the Q&A thing? Because I didn't see it. So ask it again and I'll answer your question. Okay. Um, will F1 visa interview be easy for high school? Okay, some of you may not realize that F1 visas also applies to high school. So it's not only college. A lot of people just apply just to college with F1, still go to high school on that. So short answer is not necessarily because the questions are going to lean more towards what the plan is after school. Like how, what's the plan to come back? Because remember, F1 visa is a student's temporary visa. It's not, you have to show them that you're going to come back, or what the plan is with the education. Are you going to go to college after high school? All that stuff. So it's not necessarily going to be easier. There's going to be, it's just going to have its own different challenges because of the level of education. Okay. But you can definitely talk to a lawyer to work on preparing for that if you're applying for that. Okay. Um, NVC timeline for I-130. Let me see. So it's NVC, National Visa Center. National Visa Center is currently backed up, but I-130s, I just got one approved. We applied August 2021. So let's check how long that was. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So that was 9 months because it got approved last month. But in that case, there were other people who applied same time getting approved within 6 months. So it really just depends. I'm really hoping that it's closer to 6 months now because of the way things are changing now, opportunities for, fast-paced processing. So hopefully, it won't take that long. Let me see another question here. Can an asylee sponsor an F1 student? I'm not sure what you mean sponsor. Because do you mean like sponsor, like a petition, like file a petition? Because you can't file a petition as an asylee until you get your green card, and you can typically file for your family members. So I'm not sure what you mean, but if it's the financial aspect of sponsoring the student, potentially, because really what they're looking for, because people even outside of the USA can still sponsor a student, right? So what they're looking for is money. Do you have money? You can sponsor. But if it's for a petition, a family-based petition, then qualify for that. A financial sponsorship. Okay, yeah. So if you have the money and the bank accounts, I mean, that's really what they're looking for. I don't think your status comes into play at all. Okay, now we're back. We had like a slight technical difficulty on the focus is going to be on. Whether the first was real, whether the second relationship was real, what happened to those fiancés, you know? So I don't think there's any restriction per se, but if you're not having a real relationship and you in petition, there's going to be red flags, you know, you could get denied. And in potential criminal charges, there are other things that go along with filing fraudulent petitions. Because, like I said, we're dealing with the US government and they want to make sure that the process is fair and people are doing what they need to do. So, you know, I hope that answers that for you. Um, okay, any more down here? Uh, how to get a work visa. That's something I do. I do talk about some of it on my page, but I mostly practice immigration. So if you're a truck driver, I know that you won't qualify for like H-1Bs or one of those visas that require a 4-year degree, except you have a 4-year degree and you want to go that route, you still have to find an employer regardless of the route. That's one thing I know about employment based. Um, yeah, work visas are just something really tricky because it always depends on you finding an employer. Okay, except you qualify for the national interest waiver I was talking about. I didn't see anyone comment about it, so I won't really go into that right now. But for the national interest waiver, you don't need an employer. But that's also a special situation. You need to have high level degrees. Most of the people I was dealing with last week had like PhDs and stuff like that. So they have like high level research degrees. So okay. Hope that answered the question for you. And like I said, if you need more insight that you can't get on this live, you can always click on the link in my bio. If you're watching me on Facebook or Instagram, or YouTube, you see my link and my number, just reach out and I'll be able to help you figure out what you need to do. Okay. Um, already answered that one. So I'm just going to take it out of there. Let's and thank you guys so much for participating in the live, sharing it with your friends, and just asking all these questions. Um, I'm going to try to get through as much as I can before we end today. But I'm gonna come live once a week, like I said before. So follow me so that you don't miss out on that stuff when I do come live. Okay. Um, okay. Someone on YouTube asked to talk about adjustment of status spouse of a permanent resident. Okay, that's an interesting one to talk about. So I'm going to get into that in a second. Okay. Someone on TikTok is asking how long to get your citizenship with the U.S. Army. So, are you already a permanent resident, or are you trying to join the Army to then become a citizen? Because that's the type of question I get all the time. People who are non-citizens are asking how to become citizens by joining the Army. So if you're a permanent resident and you join the Army, I think it's going to be less than 5 years for sure. Um, but I'm not, I think maybe even a year. But this is something you have to a lawyer because I'm not even 100% sure. There are different steps and different requirements and things you have to do for that. But it is going to be less than 5 years that I know. So there are benefits to that. Well, you have to be a permanent resident just like everybody else first. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jemima. I like that name for your question on adjustment of status for green card holder. On my page all the time, I'm always talking about. Okay, I'll expand on that. So I'm also talking about getting a green card through marriage because, like I said, that's the majority of what I do, marriage-based green cards, right? So the major difference if your spouse is a U.S. citizen versus a permanent resident is going to be in the timeline. For one, because it just depends on if a visa is immediately available for the spouse, if you're a green card holder, versus like a U.S. citizen, always a visa immediately available for a U.S. citizen, a spouse of a U.S. citizen. Okay, that's a major difference. Aside from that, it's going to be the same thing. You have to prove bona fide relationship. You have to have your marriage certificate, um, prove that your life is shared like the spouse of a U.S. citizen would. Okay, so essentially, you can adjust your status if you're already in the USA. Another thing to keep in mind, since since a visa may not be immediately available, is to remain in good status before you actually apply. Because if you're out of status and you apply for a green card and your spouse is a green card holder, you may not be able to adjust, right? You may have to go back to your country to do a consulate process because a visa is not immediately available. They're not going to let you wait in here. There's also, if you accrue unlawful presence, there's also an admissibility for that, or bans and all that stuff. So that's really the only thing. If your spouse was a U.S. citizen, on the other hand, you could potentially get waivers. You could file a waiver of inadmissibility. So those are really just the minor differences between a spouse of a U.S. citizen versus a spouse of a permanent resident. It's essentially the same thing, just some of the benefits, some of the waivers that are available may not be available for you. Okay. So if you not to go out of status, honestly, once you file the I-485, you're no longer, the time stops for you. Your unlawful presence or your whatever visa you came on, the time stops because you become you have a pending I-485. So you're not going to be considered out of status. You've already filed. So, but whatever status you came to the USA with, just make sure that you continue to follow the guidelines for that. If it was a student visa, make sure you're still in school so that you lose your status by if you're not taking classes, you can lose your F1 status, right? If it's a tourist visa, make sure that you didn't overstay because if you already accrued presence before you even got married, that's just that, right? You're gonna have to deal with that. But yeah, those are the differences. Let me know if I didn't touch on something you were looking to hear about. Um, Sandra, the cost consultation, you can click on my website to figure out the cost of consultation. But generally, we have different types of, different levels depending on what you're needing. So if you have a quick question, you can click on the link for a 15-minute video chat. Um, those ones are right there. I think the price is actually right there on my website, and I can even send you a link right here in the comments too, so you can take a look. But generally, all the fees, everything is transparent on there when you try to book. Okay. Yes, I do. I have a website. So, Ihani on my TikTok, just swipe and click on my page. You'll see my link. You'll see my Instagram, everything. Find me at Marriage Green Card Lawyer. That's my Instagram. But you can click on the link on my TikTok as well to see links to everything, my website, my YouTube, my Instagram, everything. Okay? Let me know if you find it. Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay. Okay, so I have another question here. This is my first time getting this question, but that's thank you very much for bringing that up. So this person says, I have a stuttering problem. Will that affect my visa interview? And the answer is no. That's just a straight up simple answer. Because really, there are going to be accommodations to help people who are not able to just talk fast. So that should not, you just let the officer know right off the bat, like, hey, I have a problem and I'm going to need some patience because I mean, I can talk, I can understand what you're saying. I just need some patience to actually get the answers to you. So I hope that helps you feel more comfortable when you're going for your, um, okay, good luck. Um, Pending I-485, I do go to the interviews with my clients for sure. I provide interview prep and attendance in one package. So reach out to me for that. We can definitely discuss to know what's going on. I mean, you can start with the consultation. You're going to need a case planning session at this point, since you already have a case going on and you know you're going to need a service, which is going to be prep or attendance. Okay. So definitely do that. Thank you very much, Sandra, for watching on YouTube. Wow, you guys are awesome. And thanks for the likes, hearts. It's like, this is just so amazing. I'm enjoying this right now. I'm enjoying answering these questions. I could talk about immigration stuff for like hours and hours. That's why I'm like, I have to put myself on a timer so I don't stay here forever. Just talking and talking and talking. Okay. More questions. This is interesting. I can make $1 million, but I'm undocumented. Okay. Are you wondering if your ability to make $1 million could potentially qualify you for a green card? Because there is the extraordinary abilities visa, green card, petition. You don't need an employer. Um, I don't know. What is it what do you do? How can you make $1 million? What do you do? So another person is asking, well, I'm answering the questions in the Q&A blocks. If your question is not there, I may not see it. So don't now start saying, please answer my question because I do not see it. Just put it in the Q&A box, okay? I already something similar to this one. And for you guys on Facebook and YouTube, follow me on TikTok at IFE Esquire. I'll put that on the screen next time so that you can also see some of these questions that people are bringing up here. They have really great questions on TikTok. I think it's because TikTok is, people all over the world. So like things I never thought about, somebody already asked it. So How long do you need to be married to get a green card? So earlier I said you don't, there's no wait time. As soon as you get married, you can just go ahead and file for your green card. So similarly here, there is no duration. What you need to have is a bona fide marriage, right? So if you have a bona fide marriage, you can go ahead and file for your green card. Okay. And a bona fide marriage, there are so many tips I made on Instagram as well, for to help people figure out what kinds of evidence will work to show a bona fide marriage. Right? There are so many different types of evidence because every family situation is different. Use If your U.S. visa gets denied, you could apply again potentially. Depends on the reason. They're gonna tell you the reason why your U.S. visa got denied. So at that point in time, you can decide if you can qualify to apply or not. A minor apply for asylum. That's a tricky one. I want to say yes. I want to say yes, but I'm not sure to be honest. So I have to talk to a lawyer about that. Because I mean, if you have a real fear of persecution, there might be another option for you if you're a minor. Okay. So definitely. Yeah, and I think we're getting to that 1 hour mark. We kind of started at like 5:15 ish, just kind of waiting for people to get into the live. So yeah, at this point in time, I've answered so many questions and kind of told you guys the 3 steps. So if you didn't get that, just try to watch the replay on YouTube or Facebook to see the 3 steps that you need to follow if you get a notice from USCIS. Okay. Um, Asylum question. Oh, do I do asylum case? One of the questions that came here. So I don't do asylum cases, but I can always make referrals, right? So if you have any immigration question, you can always reach out to me, and I have a network of lawyers that can help you in that situation. Yeah. Yes, I am having internet problems right now, which is why we need to actually just end it. Um, and next time I'll see about just connecting my laptop to the thing, to the modem, and not just doing it Wi-Fi. Because I don't. Some days it's working, but today it was like no. So, but anyways, thank you guys for your patience with all the the waiting and the, whatever the thing was doing. Yeah, but that's it, guys. Thank you very much for joining. I'm going to end this one now. I will come live again. Well, I know I'm coming live next week for sure. We're going to be talking about fiance visas. I've gotten a lot of responses, people wanting me to talk more about fiance visas. So I'm definitely going to talk about fiance visas. If you have anything in particular you want to know about fiance visas, let me know in the comments, and I will include that in the topic, or I'll make sure to answer that question specific for you in my next live. Okay? All right. Right. Let's see. Yeah, I think I have gone through many of the questions. If I did miss your question, reach out to me with my link in the bio. I saw some of you following me. If you just saw me for the first time, thank you very much. Excuse me. If you are watching on Facebook, YouTube, subscribe so you get notified when I go live again. Okay? All right, then. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and see you in my next video. Bye.